It was 2:17 a.m., the dead hour when even the highway outside forgot how to breathe. The convenience store sat alone between a closed tire shop and an empty lot overgrown with weeds. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, thin and insect-like, casting everything in a pale, sleepless glow. The refrigerators along the back wall exhaled in tired cycles. The coffee machine gurgled to itself like it was dreaming. I'd worked the late shift for 6 months. I knew every sound. The pop of cooling metal in the ceiling grid. The faint click of the rotating hot dog rollers. The way the freezer doors sometimes thudded softly as pressure shifted inside them. Noise was normal. Silence was suspicious. That's why I noticed the woman immediately. Not because the door chimed when she entered, but because the chime echoed. It repeated itself half a second late, softer, from somewhere deeper in the store. Ding, ding. I glanced up from the register. The front glass reflected only darkness outside, the highway a smear of sodium orange light. She stood just inside the doorway, hands folded loosely in front of her, as if she'd been waiting for someone to notice her. She looked ordinary, mid-30s maybe, dark coat, hair pulled back, calm. Too calm for this hour. Evening, I said automatically. Is it? She asked gently, tilting her head as though listening to something above us. The refrigerators hummed. The air conditioning clicked on. She walked in without grabbing a basket, without scanning the shelves. Her footsteps were soft against the tile. Step, 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 step. One extra step followed. Not hers. Came from aisle 3. I stared past her shoulder. The aisle was empty. Rows of chips and canned soup standing in neat silence. You're open late, she said. 24 hours. That's good. She smiled faintly. They don't like it when it's dark. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, briefly dimming before stabilizing. Who doesn't? I asked. She looked at me like I'd made a joke. The echoes. The word landed strangely. Not dramatic, not whispered, just casual, like she'd asked about the weather. I forced a polite laugh. We don't get much of that in here. Her gaze drifted toward the back coolers. You do. The refrigerators hummed louder, almost defensive. She wandered down aisle 2, trailing her fingers along the shelf edges. The sound was dry, papery. I listened carefully to her steps. Step, 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 step. That second rhythm again, slightly delayed, slightly out of sync. I leaned over the counter to see better. Are the echoes still friendly? She called, not looking at me. Her voice carried too cleanly, sliding down the aisle and returning with a softness that didn't belong to acoustics. Friendly, friendly. The reply wasn't identical. It was shaped differently, as if someone had tried to pronounce the word with unfamiliar lips. My mouth went dry. We don't have an echo problem, I said, louder than I meant to. From behind me, near the storage hallway, a voice repeated, echo problem. It was my voice, exactly my pitch, exactly my cadence. But I hadn't spoken. The woman stopped walking. Slowly, she turned her head toward the hallway behind the register. Her expression wasn't fear. It was curiosity. They've gotten braver, she murmured. I felt the urge to laugh again, to rationalize. Sound carries strangely at night. Empty stores play tricks. The building settles. Except the hallway door was closed. The stockroom light was off. I had checked it 10 minutes ago. Ma'am, I said carefully, are you looking for something? She approached the counter, but her eyes stayed fixed on the aisles behind me. They used to stay near the back, she said. Whispers in the freezers. Little things. Curious. As if on cue, the freezer door handle twitched. Just slightly. A metallic click. The compressors kicked on, drowning the sound in white mechanical noise. I swallowed. If you're not buying anything, I'm going to have to. Shoo. She lifted a finger, listening. The lights buzzed. The coolers hummed. And beneath that, beneath the steady blanket of electrical sound, something else shifted. A breath. Not from one direction. From several. Soft. Testing. My heart began to pound, loud enough that I worried it would echo too. The woman smiled faintly. They like you. Who? The shelves in aisle 4 rattled gently, as if someone had brushed against them. They repeat what they like, she said. It's how they learn. From somewhere near the candy racks, a whisper rose. They like you. The voice was layered. Mine and not mine. Higher. Lower. Slightly out of sync with itself. I stepped backward until I felt the register against my spine. This isn't funny. Isn't funny. Isn't. The last word cut off, swallowed mid-echo. The woman leaned closer to the counter. You've heard them before, she said softly. Little delays. Sounds from the wrong aisle. Your footsteps coming from behind you. A memory surfaced uninvited. Last week, locking up the beer cooler, hearing myself sigh from the far end of the store. I had blamed fatigue. They're playful at first, she continued. They practice. The hallway door behind me creaked. Slowly, I did not turn around. From just inches behind my ear, something whispered my name. I hadn't told her my name. I hadn't said it aloud all night. The whisper repeated it, testing the syllables like a child tasting a new word. Again and again. Stop, I breathed. Stop. But the voice behind me didn't copy the fear. It copied the tone before it, the calm from when I'd said evening. Evening, it whispered warmly. The woman's smile widened. See, I finally turned. The hallway was empty, the door still closed, but the sound of breathing remained closer now, surrounding. They remember me, she said quietly. From the back freezer, a soft chorus replied. Remember. Her posture straightened. I used to work here, she told me. Night shift, just like you. My stomach dropped. They kept me company. 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 The word overlapped itself, folding in layers. They weren't hungry then, she added. The lights flickered again, longer this time. The store dipped into a dim gray twilight before snapping back to brightness. In that brief dark, I felt something brush my shoulder. Not a hand, a suggestion of presence. You're not warning me, I realized. Her eyes finally met mine fully. They were bright, reflective, almost wet. I'm checking, she corrected gently. If they still remember. From behind the sealed freezer doors came a low, eager rattling. My thoughts began racing, and before I could stop it, one surfaced clearly. I want to go home. The store answered. Go home. The phrase drifted from aisle 1, then aisle 5, then directly above my head in the ceiling tiles. The woman listened carefully. They can finish your sentences now, she said, impressed. I don't want. The rest of my thought completed itself in a whisper I hadn't formed. To stay. My knees weakened. The hallway door behind me unlocked with a sharp click. I had locked it. Slowly, it swung inward, revealing only darkness. From within that darkness came my voice, steady and patient. You can stay. The woman exhaled, satisfied. They've chosen, she said. The breathing in the store shifted, converging. Less scattered, more focused. On me. The front door chimed suddenly. Ding. The sound echoed. Ding. But no one had entered. The woman stepped back toward the exit, her movements unhurried. They don't like being alone, she told me. And you're very good at repeating. The lights dimmed once more. In the fading hum, I heard it clearly. 2 sets of footsteps walking toward the hallway. Only one of them was mine. The other was slightly delayed, perfectly synchronized. Learning. The woman paused at the door, listening to the chorus building behind me. My voice layered over itself, testing phrases, practicing warmth. Are the echoes still friendly? She asked softly, almost to herself. From every aisle, from the ceiling, from the darkness of the open hallway, came the answer in my voice. Friendly. The door chimed as she stepped into the night. Ding, ding. This time the echo didn't fade. It stayed. And when the store lights finally steadied, the breathing settled into a patient rhythm beside me, close enough to feel. waiting to see if I would keep them company, or if I would learn to echo back. At first, Daniel thought it was the soda compressor kicking on beneath the tile. It was 2:43 a.m., the hour when the fluorescent lights seemed thinner and the aisles stretched farther than they did during the day. The convenience store hummed in layers, coolers breathing in long mechanical sighs, the ceiling fixtures buzzing faintly, the hot dog rollers clicking in lazy rotation. Outside, the parking lot was empty except for his car and a moth orbiting the lone security light. The pulse came again. Soft, a gentle upward pressure through the soles of his shoes. Not enough to rattle shelves. Not enough to make a sound. Just a rise and a fall. Daniel froze behind the counter, listening. He told himself it was plumbing, or a truck passing on the highway, or his own pulse traveling through bone and tile. He held his breath. There. A second beat. Slightly stronger. The thin stack of lottery slips trembled at the edges. He stepped out from behind the register and crouched, pressing his palm to the linoleum. It was cool. Still. Then it lifted. Not visibly but perceptibly. A swelling from beneath, like air filling a lung. And release. Daniel jerked his hand back. He waited for a third pulse. Nothing. The store resumed its ordinary symphony of small, electrical sounds. The aisles stood patient and long beneath the humming lights. "You're tired," he muttered. He hadn't slept well in weeks. Night shift did that. Turn-time syrupy, distorted distances made his own footsteps echo half a second late in the empty store. He walked down aisle 3. Step, step. The shelving felt taller tonight. The candy bars stared back in glossy rows. The refrigeration units along the back wall exhaled cold air in synchronized gusts. Halfway down the aisle it came again. Thud. This time there was no mistaking it. The entire floor beneath him swelled upward with a slow, deliberate push. His knees flexed instinctively. Then it subsided. Daniel's own heartbeat kicked into his throat. Bottom. A moment later. Thud. The floor answered. He swallowed. That's not possible. He tried to laugh, but it came out thin. He stood still, pressing both feet flat against the tile. Bottom. Thud. The rhythm wasn't identical. The store lagged slightly behind him, like it was listening first. He forced himself to breathe slower. Inhale for 4. Hold. Exhale. Gradually, his pulse settled. The floor followed. Thud. Slower. Another. And another, matching his calmer cadence. Daniel stepped back, unease pooling cold in his stomach. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay." The fluorescent lights flickered once, then steadied. He crouched again and placed both palms flat against the ground. He could feel it now without waiting for it to surprise him. A low, subterranean vibration building beneath the tile. A gathering. And release. It wasn't mechanical. Machines clicked and hummed. They had sharp edges to their sounds. This was round. Organic. A pressure wave rather than a tremor. Bottom. Thud. His breathing quickened involuntarily. The next pulse came faster. Thud. The shelves shivered faintly. "No," he said aloud, standing abruptly. "Stop." The store held its breath with him. For 3 long seconds, nothing moved. Then, thud. Harder. The overhead lights buzzed louder, as if fed by the surge. Daniel stumbled back toward the register, heart hammering. Bottom. 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 Thud. 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 Perfectly synchronized now. The sensation traveled up through his legs, into his ribs. He pressed a hand to his chest. "Coincidence," he whispered. "It's coincidence." The automatic doors slid open. He flinched. A man stepped inside, older, maybe late 50s, wearing a dark jacket and a baseball cap pulled low. His expression was neutral, almost patient. The doors closed behind him with a soft sigh. Daniel waited for the pulse. Came immediately. Thud. The man tilted his head slightly, as if acknowledging it. "You feel it too," the man said. It wasn't a question. Daniel's mouth went dry. "Feel what?" Another pulse. The man's lips twitched faintly. "Feeding cycle." Daniel blinked. What? Get stronger at night, the man continued, strolling down the first aisle. Less noise, fewer distractions. Thud. The soda bottles rattled softly in their racks. Daniel's heart accelerated. Bottom. Thud. The man glanced down at the floor, almost fondly. You're sinking. I'm not sinking with anything, Daniel snapped. The pulse surged. Thud. Hard enough this time that a bag of chips slid forward on the shelf and fell. The man stopped walking. Careful, he said quietly. It responds to attention. Daniel forced himself to breathe slowly again. Inhale. Exhale. The store followed. Thud. Softer. It feeds on what you give it, the man added. Panic is rich. Fear's better. But steady focus. He tapped his temple. That's sustainable. Daniel backed toward the counter. This is some kind of joke. The man met his eyes. I used to work nights here, he said. Before you. Daniel's stomach clenched. They don't advertise it, the man continued. Turnover's high. Thud. The floor swelled under Daniel's shoes, not violently, intimately, as if testing his balance. You can leave, Daniel said, though he wasn't sure who he was trying to convince. The man's expression shifted, almost pitying. Can you? Bottom. Thud. The rhythms were indistinguishable now. Daniel tried to step toward the door. The floor resisted. Not enough to stop him outright, but enough to make the motion feel wrong. Like walking against a current. His pulse spiked. Thud. The ceiling lights brightened fractionally. You see? The man murmured. It's choosing. The word landed heavy. Choosing. Daniel pressed both hands to the counter, grounding himself. I quit, he whispered. The store responded immediately. Thud. Harder. The coolers roared to life in unison. The air grew warmer. Closer. You've been here long enough, the man said softly. It takes time to align. Weeks, usually. Daniel's breath shortened. Bottom. Thud. Bottom. Thud. He couldn't tell which came first anymore. The pulses weren't under the floor now. They were everywhere. In the walls. In the shelving. In the humming wires overhead. A full body pressure that rose and fell through him. The man began backing toward the exit. It doesn't absorb everyone, he said. Just the ones who listen. The doors slid open behind him. Daniel lunged forward, but the floor lifted mid-step. Not violently, lovingly. His knees buckled, and he caught himself on the edge of the counter. Bottom. Thud. Bottom. Thud. The door closed. The man was gone. Daniel stood alone beneath the fluorescent lights. He focused on calming down, slowing his breath, reducing the rhythm. Gradually, the pulse softened. Thud. Slower. Thud. Gentler. Relief washed over him. I can manage this, he whispered. The store agreed. Thud. He took one cautious step toward the entrance. The pulse waited. He took another. Still calm. Still steady. Then, just before his fingers touched the door sensor, his heart betrayed him. A spike of hope. A flicker of fear. Bottom. The store answered instantly. Thud. The floor rose higher than before. Not enough to throw him, but enough to remind him. The lights dimmed slightly, warming to a deeper tone. The aisles seemed shorter now. Closer. Intimate. Bottom. Thud. Bottom. Thud. Daniel stopped resisting. The rhythm wasn't threatening. It was comforting. Predictable. A shared cadence beneath everything. His breathing settled. His pulse steadied. The store matched him perfectly. There was no lag anymore. No delay. Just one unified beat moving through tile and tendon alike. Bottom. Thud. Bottom. Thud. He turned slowly, surveying the long aisles glowing under fluorescent light. They didn't feel endless now. They felt contained. Protective. Outside, the highway remained empty. Inside, the store pulsed warmly beneath his feet. Daniel placed his palm against the floor one last time. It rose to meet him, and this time it didn't recede.